All right, we're going to continue, though, with the theme of that line of questioning, particularly from our junior Khumalo, and we continue with the coverage around the appointment of Advocate Mothibi as the next head of the National Prosecuting Authority. And as we've been saying, it's been met with mixed reaction. So let's talk to the Minister of Justice, and that's the person that the NPA sort of answers to. Minister, good evening to you. Thank you for your time. I was hoping to start with this question a little later in my line of questioning, but the President somewhat dealing with it already, and he says, at least the bits I got, was he appointed Advocate Mothibi knowing full well his advanced age as a civil servant. He's 63 years old, meaning in 2 years' time, he could well leave the NPA, just as Shamila Batoyi is now at that very age.
Good evening, Xoli, and good evening to your viewers. Compliments of the new season. Definitely, I think the first issue was that we were hoping that the panel process would produce a candidate with longer years that can give us for the NPA. And unfortunately, as we've heard with the President indicating, there was no candidate recommended for appointment. And that's why the option, we do support the President, and we welcome the appointment of Advocate Mothibi into NPA. That helps us to almost bring quite a number of issues to fore, because he's not going to start afresh. He's somebody who is in the justice portfolio under the department as head of SIU, you'd know. So in joint operation or in joint meetings, he would have been part of those, understanding some of the issues that needs to be dealt with, and in terms of processing what needs to be done. So it's not as a person who will arrive at NPA having a long time to deal with. And another challenge that we faced, that the President asked us, as we did as the recommendation, was whether there was suitability of a person who can act. And that's where the difficulty was, and that's why the appointment was important to be done within this month, because you can't extend Advocate Batoyi's term. She turns 65 today, in which, today in her birthday. So she's ending this month, and the 1st of February has to have an NDPP. So we are aware of his advanced age, but because we are taking a person within the portfolio, we are advanced. And as the President says, that this is a person who doesn't have to learn anything new in terms of the work that needs to be done, unlike having to take somebody from the outside to bring him in. Yeah. And also because there are quite a number of things that we need to do, so that when we appoint a person that is going to take 10 years, it's going to be an environment that is conducive, that has stabilized, and being able to build on what Advocate Batoyi has been able to do.
Minister, you'll forgive me, I'm going to have to stay with you a little longer on this, because I need for you then to tell us clearly, including the viewers, whether you are saying, in essence, within these 2 years, Advocate Mothibi will make an indelible mark, in other words, impact within the NPA, because there is doubt whether he can do anything that is notable in just 2 years.
Only I'm 1 year on the portfolio, and I've done quite a lot. So even 6 months in a portfolio of a person who's decisive, of a person who's bold, on a person who has experience in management, on a person who understands what needs to be done, it's way too long.
So, in essence, as we move on from this then,
it's 2 years, 6 months.
2 years, 6 months. So, Advocate Mothibi's contract will not be renewed, or his stay in the NPA will not be extended once he reaches that age of 65.
The law does not allow for it to be extended. That's why we can't even extend Advocate Batoyi.
Sure. All right. It means then that within 2 years, we're back at the very same process that was...
What we are looking for, Toli, here is to gain value out of a person who's doing a fantastic job in stabilizing SIU. He's done a good work in stabilizing SIU, getting results, building confidence, and we do believe that we'll be able to get that in 2 years.
Minister, let's then talk about the panel that was headed by yourself, which interviewed the candidates. There is huge criticism, and it is exactly why some political parties are saying the president has had to resort to Advocate Mothibi. The Democratic Alliance, for example, they say the panel lacked any form of prosecution experience. It was devoid of criminal justice experts, and its inclusion of disgraced former NPA boss Menzies Simelane showed just how incapable the panel was. How do you respond to that?
I'm yet to see the day Advocate Brattenbach has anything positive to say about anything, quite frankly. The president, when he answered questions in Parliament last year, Advocate Brattenbach raised the issue of the panel. President explained the experiences and the panel's composition. But he didn't do that only. He said to Advocate Brattenbach as a member of Parliament, if you do have, as DA, a person that would want to recommend to be on the panel, please do so and suggest I'm willing to accept. She never did. But I'm just saying broadly, in every single thing, I'm yet to see her being positive about one thing. The issue of the panel, you compare the panel to, and the people who are complaining about the current composition of the panel are not complaining about the panel that appointed Advocate Batoyi. When it's the same panel composition. So I'm not so sure what is the basis, whether there is a particular person these individuals were looking to have in that panel that they didn't have. Because I do think now it's not an issue of the expertise, it's not the issue of the competence, it's not the issue of what the panel could do. I think it's an issue that people wanted a particular individual in that panel and they didn't have. And they must tell us who the person is. Only the interviews were open and quite to the public. Everybody could see. Now, somebody must judge us from how we asked questions. Somebody must judge us how we conducted those interviews. Those interviews, I believe, were quite rigorous. Those interviews and the process itself literally was transparent, was able to ask questions. We were able to go into the detail of what we have said the person must have. The people needed to prove to ourselves that they are managers. They can manage an institution such as NPA. They understood the complexities, the questionnaire that they were sent. We were able to ask questions that relates to integrity. We were able to ask the question that relates to competence, to accountability. So all the areas in terms of work that needed to be asked in terms of how these people can lead. We're not looking for a prosecutor that's going to court. We're looking for a leader that is going to lead prosecutors, who's going to motivate all these prosecutors to do well in their courts, who's going to ensure that there are systems in place that are able to enable the justice system to function effectively and support the country in fighting crime and corruption. And that's what we were looking for.
I want to put once again yet more political reaction to this appointment. The other political parties, such as the EFF, they are pointing out that in the era or during the tenure of Advocate Batoyi, I quote directly now, serious criminal cases were routinely struck off the roll, withdrawn or abandoned, entrenching a culture of impunity. I want to mix that up with the IFP, who are quite complimentary of this appointment, but they do say that this appointment comes at a time when South Africa requires, and I quote directly, firm, principled, and capable leadership within the National Prosecuting Authority. Do you believe that these are the qualities that Advocate Mothibi possesses?
Let me start again, Toli, with the reactions. I think many. I would have also liked you to look at the statement by the Portfolio Committee of Justice, where we account the chairperson issued. COSATU as well issued a statement. So a balanced quoting of the statement. But broadly, not only that, many NGOs have issued the statement. The public reaction has been quite positive about this appointment. And that needs to be a balanced view that says a lot of South Africans understand where the NPA is, what is expected, and therefore many have said Advocate Mothibi has proven to be a leader who acts without fear or favor, a leader who is competent. He has proven his track record in terms of how he has dealt with SIU. And many even were saying that he now has an opportunity to see through the work that he started at SIU. And that's what we're looking for. He's got the understanding of the JCPS in full totality. He's been a participant. So the qualities of ethical leadership, there's never been issues around his credibility. And that's important, because when you have a person that is going to lead this institution, you need a person that the public has confidence that will be able to drive. But what we must also urge is that he's not going to work alone. He needs men and women who are going to be in the NPA as his deputies, DPPs, DNDPPs, and DPPs in the province, who are the people who are making decisions in terms of prosecution, whether to prosecute or not to prosecute, especially the issues that we are raising with criminal matters by the EFF, who will hold those individuals accountable. And I do believe that he is fit and proper to do that work.
As you say, he's not going to be working alone. A question around vacant posts, particularly as his deputies. This is what he's probably going to be faced with as he assumes that office. I'll leave that to you to respond to, but here's how I would like for us to end the conversation, and it has to end with the incumbent who is outgoing. The Nkabinde inquiry, quite a standoff before they took a break. And there isn't clarity at this stage whether she is going to go back and basically answer questions there. Do you know what the next course of action is going to be on whether Advocate Batoyi is going to go back to the Nkabinde inquiry?
Okay, on the DNDPPs, we deliberately left for the NDPP to be appointed so that we work together, because it's the minister together with the NDPP that recommends DNDPPs, the deputies, to the president. So firstly, Advocate Mothibi will decide whether he wants to have 3 or 4 that are going to come through in terms of the appointments, and that will be done. And I can assure this is one of the priorities and what I've asked him to start paying attention. We'll be meeting with him in the coming few days together with all the executives so that we can make sure that this is not something that is delayed. That's the first thing. On the issue of the inquiry, I've been refusing to make a running commentary because the recommendations are going to come to us in terms of the work that needs to be done. I can just confirm that I've requested to meet with the Nkabinde inquiry in relation to a matter that is before me. In terms of the legal opinions, you'd note that there was a legal opinion. I can confirm that that request have been made. We are actually processing, but in terms of within the laws and the policies, I do have a request to meet the Nkabinde inquiry to understand what does this mean and its implications, and therefore out of those then we'll take a decision, and also how the process is going to do. So I wouldn't want to comment publicly until I've done those processes. So we're only able to meet next week because of the recess or of the panel and the holidays.
As I let you go then, Minister, you have made comments recently about mandatory lifestyle audits for prosecutors, or these to be conducted on prosecutors. Some are saying it's very late in the day. This should have been the practice anyway. What do you hope to achieve with that?
Better late than never, Toli. Not only on prosecutors, but across. Actually, I requested that this has been done last year. There's been delays Actually, some of them saying that it's not required. So we're looking at the legal framework to ensure that this is mandatory. I am serious about this, not only with the prosecutors, but also with the state attorneys, with the master's offices within the justice and senior managers in the department. This is important as the president is requesting us as ministers to undergo lifestyle audit. Is important as part of building credibility. I said to the prosecutors, I will not be able to stand publicly and defend you when you have not done lifestyle audit. There are no mechanisms to assure me that your ethical standard is not compromised. When people make allegations that you actually take bribes to wipe out cases, that becomes difficult for me. You'd remember when we dealt with the issue of Omotoso, there was quite a lot of accusation in the public domain that prosecutors who were dealing with the Omotoso case actually took money, and that's why the case was bungled. And because there's not been a lifestyle audit, or I have no mechanism to be able to, I can stand and say they have not done it, while people are not producing results, but because the leadership of this institution must understand that to build public confidence and integrity is that we've got to act beyond what is required, and that's why the lifestyle audits are important.
Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Mmamoloko Kubayi, thank you very much for your time.